I think you hit on a good point there. I think it was definitely a part of it. I think we as individuals in this space really had to deal with some serious time constraints. Like we just gave a heck of a lot of examples of how hard it was to like get on top of academics. But I think a good point there is there's a reason why I got so into this time management stuff was because I realized that if I'm not more focused, my grades are not going to be better. I need to make it happen because I don't have the time to dilly-dally, as well as the fact that I'm also like fatigued as heck. So I have to be more disciplined on myself, and it helped me academically and athletically when I became a like time management guy. I got better at running too, which was interesting, I think, because I started sleeping more. Because I mean, I used to just play video games in the time, I did that for a fair amount of time or whatever. But you know, after I got through that, I took all that energy and put it into time management. And then, you know what I think is interesting about it? The reason we're more effective, or you guys, I'd say, are definitely more effective in season. And I even fall into that too, right? I'm like, it's because we have the constraints. It's like the whole Parkinson's law thing, but like on steroids. Like it's Parkinson's law on steroids because we're giving ourselves these specific, it's actually, you know what it is? It's forcing you guys to time block. But like not actually time block. You know, get what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that it helps explain, not a phenomenon, but maybe just a thing I don't like to hear, a gripe from people who are not in athletics, where they say, "Oh, I don't have enough time to do this or that," and this isn't to virtue signal myself or put myself on any kind of pedestal, but I mean it breaks down like this. I go to school. I'm in class for as much as you are, and I'm probably dedicating the same amount of time, if not more, towards studying. I have practice for 2 to 4 hours every day. On top of that, and I think this is something that is really slept on, is that when you break it up, this 24-hour pie, we always have to give 8 hours of sleep, at least 7 to 8 or 9 hours of sleep. You can't afford to sleep less because you have to recover. And I think that being a student who doesn't have to recover, you have that flexibility for an all-nighter or what have you. And, I think that it creates more ways to talking yourself out of doing that work and say, I can just do this later. I can stretch this into a really thin, work session.
Yeah. I think that's a good point.
It does create a major time block.
I agree. That's a good point. You mentioning the 8 hours is a big point, right? So say we had practice at 7 all the time. I mean, this guarantees you that you need to go to bed sometime between 10 to 10:30, right? Or 9:30 to 10:30. And then you need to get up sometime between 6 to 6, for some people 6:50. Some guys on the team. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like this even gives more constraints. So we have the constraints now of the time the day ends, the time the day begins, and then the time the day starts around 11, and then we have lunch in there, we have dinner in there, which is usually like a team thing for the most part. So, or in between your classes. So for dinner, it's like, all right, we're gonna eat at like 5:36, and then lunch is like, obviously you get to put that at a certain time, like 1:32, and then at that point you have your classes, and then you only have this much time to figure out when you're gonna work on stuff. Mm-hmm. Athletics forces you,
and precisely, and I don't think
to
that
be effective in your studying.
Yes,
what?
Absolutely, and I think that just in general, I think it makes a more well-rounded life. I mean, I think everyone should sleep 8 hours. I think everyone should exercise for at least an hour a day. And it's like when you're forced to put these constraints onto yourself, or not even on yourself, someone is putting them onto you. I think that it just creates time blocking before someone's even mature enough to think about time blocking.
Exactly, and that's where I realized in that sense that I only had that specific amount of time left. So I'm like, that's what got me on the early morning kick thing too, because I'm like, I don't have time to like make this YouTube channel that I want to make. I don't have time to make this blog I don't have time. Like, where am I going to find the time? I could do it before practice. Oh God, I guess. All right, well, I guess I'll just go to bed early, and I'll like actually stay strict with that now that I don't play video games. And the next thing I know, I'm like productivity guy, and guys are making jokes about it or whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, I mean, it's cool. And then like, actually, you know what? I got into the productivity thing before I made a YouTube channel about it. I inverted that situation. No. The getting up early part was that. I did start using Notion before I had even had the inkling thought of using it to make videos. But the waking up early thing actually was the YouTube thing. But it was just like, that's nuts to me that like there's so little constraints on those that don't have them in college. And that's what, people talk about a lot. You have a lot more time in college, but time management is really what sets people apart in their grades and sets people apart in their overall performance. And even life performance. Like, I think interestingly enough, the constraints that we put on ourselves made the social events we did much more intentional.
Oh, absolutely. I think that it makes all parts of your life more intentional. But I mean, specifically social and academic. I mean,
oh yeah.
Every time that there's a get together, it's not something that just happens on a whim or happens, almost daily. It's if we're hanging out, we are there to hang out. Everyone is not worried about running, probably for the following day. It's probably before exactly. It's probably before an off day, or at least like, I don't know. You've already gotten your run done for that day.
Oh yeah.
Let's say you're done with academics and you're there to hang out. There's no one on the team that I think would be willing to just come and hang out if they had a huge amount of study that they still had to do, because we instill this kind of culture where it's academics first.
Yeah, and I think sorry, you go.
I was going to say it's good to instill that kind of culture, whether it's athletics or whatever your group is.
Exactly. You hit it on the nail. I was just going to say, like, dude, just do it with your friend group, man. Like, I think a big thing that people can do is they have friends around them that are focused, and, obviously you want to have your fun friends, like those exist. It's just don't keep them as like close to the vest. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to see those people on the weekend or whatever, but like dealing with them during the week, maybe not so much, because they are not going to help you achieve your goals at the moment, or if you have those academic goals. If you don't, do what you want. I'm not going to say you have to be good academically or that's going to make your life better, because you know what? I'm trying to be stoic and I can't control whether people want to do successful things with their lives or not. And that's just not going to bother me, because it used to, but like, I'm just going to be stoic about it.
You're just going to let them do what they want and you do what you do.
Exactly. I'm just trying to help people build a better life. And if they want that by whatever means that is, then yeah, I'm doing it through the lens of my own better life. But if you guys have a different idea of that, I can't hate, because you know what? It is what it is. And with that in mind, I definitely though do think that, like we hung out yesterday, right? And I think it's interesting that for the 4th, it's like, it was this whole planned thing for a lot of people. There was definitely a day set aside. And I know it's like, this is just an example. But even though it's in the summer and whatnot, you and I still touch base a lot about like, when are we recording? When do you have time? Because you have managed to keep this regimen up with the LSAT studying, even though the constraints aren't on you as much with the specific time of running, like you and your current roommate at the moment, and the other one that visited, who I'm going to talk about him in a little bit as a case study example. But like, you guys got up and after a fun 4th of July ran at 9, and I'm like, good for you guys. Can't say that is happening for the general population. Like, kudos. I then like did core by myself for like half an hour because I'm not running yet, and I'm like, yeah, we're really on this time management kick, probably more than the average population, because we have just more constraints put on ourselves by others and sometimes by ourselves. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, when the whole group is going to bed before 11 on like a quote unquote night out or what have you, that was really funny. But yeah, that was a group of dudes that was just I feel like we're all very committed to time management. And I mean, like you said, there's the one case study, one of our friends who actually did his M1, his first year of medical school, while he was a student athlete. Baller. And I think that I've never been more motivated to say that, oh, I don't have time to do this, or I don't have time to do that, when watching this case study, this M1, do med school and athletics. It should inspire anyone in college still doing athletics, or even outside, of college working a job like you, Dimitri.
Yeah.
It's just like you can make time.
It's ridiculous. I agree with you completely. Anytime I think about a lot of things, and I did last semester too, I'm like, man, doctor's got his busy time going right now. And if any freshman makes a comment about like, I don't have time to do that, I'm gonna just be like, hey, he's in med school, right? And he's PRing. Like, he's having the best athletic year of his career, and he's in med school, and he's acing a lot of things from what I've heard. So tough on the whole excuses thing. Like, yeah, that really got to me. I remember seeing that, and this is a very small thing, and I'm gonna let something bother me, because I'm not always stoic. Something distinctly that happened to me my freshman year that is like a very good anecdote, and I mentioned it to you before the podcast. Nothing triggered me more than overhearing someone who's in the business school with me make the statement of like, and this is two people talking. I'm not going to say what gender they're. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just say two people. I'm just going to be broad about it. These two people were discussing how frustrating it was, or not frustrating, how hard it was to find the time to work out because midterms had them swamped. I could have not been more triggered because I had a grade nearly 3 ankle sprain, had been doing rehab for 5 to 7 hours a week, and was on the bike 300 miles a week to try to stay in shape. And I also was in class with them, and was also at that time had a video game problem. So I was just like, where are you putting this time? I'm like, where are you putting this time? I just don't I don't get it. And like that, there's so many people like that in college. And I think the doctor thing is a big wake-up call for them. I need to edit that out. I said the name. The doctor thing is a big wake-up call for them to hear. And it's like, I'm just glad I know him. I'm very glad I know him because there's some ammunition in the gun for certain conversations now. If you want to see this episode or any other episode of the Rise Productive podcast, make sure to go and check the show out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else that you can find podcasts today.